Welcome to Operation Iced Over. This winter, I decided that I would ride my motorcycle on the main highway. Snow first fell here in Tok, Alaska on October 2nd. It will not start to melt until late March, and we may have snow on the road into the end of May. Alaska is considered by most to have a very short riding season. I refused to accept that this year. So I set out with a goal to accomplish that I believed was absolutely reasonable as a test run for winter riding on the highway. I decided I would ride from Tok, Alaska to the Alaska-Canada border, about 90 miles down the highway, and back in a day. After some test riding, as you can see done here, on December 6th, I identified some products that I definitely needed to add to my bike to be safe on the road. I already have SW Motec crash bars and soft luggage. I also have Hippo Hands Alcan hand covers for cold protection for my hands. Next up, tire studs seemed like a good choice. I reached out to Grip Studs Traction, and they set me up with their GST 1200s for the front tire and GST 1300s for the rear tires. Here they are next to a penny for size comparison. I bought a new set of Shinko 244s and studded them up with these tire studs. This is the first stud I put in. The process went pretty smooth and was pretty easy to figure out. These carbide-tipped studs seem to be very well made, and the large screw-in base seems like it will be much better than the cheaper sheet metal screw-type studs that you can buy. Overall, throughout the duration of this project, I found that my tire studs were set up very well for the type of riding and road conditions that I had for this trip. I did decide that the GST 1200s in the front tire were a little bit under-aggressive for what I think would be ideal for a little bit of loose snow on top of more uneven ground. The studs, both front and rear, performed very well on the highway where the ice is smooth and there's no loose snow on top of it. I just found the front tire breaking a little bit of traction at times whenever I was on loose snow. I then put on double take mirrors because I don't know of an aftermarket mirror that has a more stable image, and decided that having the ability to see clearly in my rearview mirror as other traffic was approaching me from behind would be well worth my time. I also just wanted to add these to this bike anyway, as I have them on my other KLR 650, and my experience with double take mirrors is outstanding. I reached out to Baja No Pinch Tool, and they sponsored me their ultimate tire change kit, and I used that on my tire change and found this tool to be an outstanding addition to my toolkit. I already have a YouTube video out with the full tire change, so I've rushed through portions of it as I didn't want to completely leave it out. It was an important part of this trip. But you can search my YouTube channel for my full review of their tool later. Struggling with the kickstand on another bike here to break my bead did make me miss my bead breaker tire spoons that I left down in California with my other KLR 650 that's in storage down there. But I got through it and got the bead broken after a bit of struggling. I've skipped over part of the tire change here, obviously. Here I'm just pulling out the old tube, and then here I'm slipping the last bit of the inside side of the tire over the rim with the Baja No Pinch Tool. As you can see, it didn't take a whole lot of pressure. Very simple. That last bit of tire that's always a challenge with tire spoons slips right on with this tool. Here again, you can see me work the last bit of the other side of the tire over the rim. And again, this is my first time using the tool. It went very smooth. It was much easier than fighting with normal tire spoons to get up under the rim and get pried into place. Just a little bit of steady, even pressure, small bites, and it slipped right over and into place. Again, I did get this tool sponsored to me, but I was going to buy it even if they didn't agree to send it, and I am extremely pleased with it. You should check it out, watch the YouTube videos on it and see what you think. Out of the modifications and upgrades I've done to my bike, it's hard to say whether tire studs or crash bars are the most important of them, but I would say you should have both if you're going to ride on the ice, because going down is a high risk. Now, with the tire studs on and upgrades made, let's hit the road. I set out here relatively late in the day with the daylight hours, the whole 5.5 hours of them, already half over, thinking I would ride to the border. I made it partway and ended up turning around. This was a good test run, and I will successfully make the border next try. The temperature was somewhere around -10 degrees Fahrenheit, and I can tell you a pinlock lens on the inside of your normal helmet is not enough to keep your lens fog-free at that temperature. Here you can see the sun at its position right around high noon. Well, not actually noon, but midday, barely above the horizon. It is nice to see this time of year though, and the light it puts out while so low in the horizon is absolutely stunning. I believe the sun officially gets to an elevation of about 5 degrees above the horizon at its peak this time of year. Here it's flashing through the trees and in my eyes, but I really don't mind because of how little we see of it. It's nice to look at now and then. Performance-wise, at this point, I'm pretty impressed with the tire studs. I got decent traction, and I've recognized by now that I definitely have to be careful with the brakes. My KLR 650 is the base model and does not have ABS, and I can tell you it is very easy to lock up one of the tires. Still have good traction though, good drive traction, good steer traction, and I'm pretty happy with it. Here you can see me stopping and grabbing a thicker pair of gloves. Thanks to the Hippo Hands, I was able to ride with a very light pair of leather gloves for quite a long time and run my camera for about an hour, and then I had to switch to warmer mittens because they had started to chill a bit. My test run today was in total 98 miles, and I was on the road for about 3 or 3.5 hours, counting photography time. With the lens fogging problem, I decided to get a new helmet. So here I am a week later with a brand new BRP Oxygen heated lens helmet, hitting the road for another attempt at the trip to the border. If I remember right, I set out at about 9 o'clock, and that is about an hour and 10 or 15 minutes before sunrise, and headed south. Here you can see a pretty good example of what much of Alaska, interior Alaska's paved roads are like for most of the winter. A little bit of pavement showing, usually a fair amount of ice and hardpack over the top. I found a range of speed anywhere from 35 to 50 miles an hour was pretty comfortable for the most part, and I found the new helmet with the heated lens was awesome. As far as cold weather gear goes, I wore a good thermal base layer, a heated motorcycle gear layer of socks, pants, jacket, and gloves, a down mid layer, and my climb outer shell. With the heated gear, I was actually flat out comfortable. I did find that with the layers, the thighs of my climb pants were just a little bit too tight, and that actually reduced my effective insulation, and my legs got a little bit cool, but in no way uncomfortable. I would never recommend dressing in a manner that makes you depend on the heated gear, so I carried backup full snow gear in my bags in case I had a problem. I made it to the Alaska-Yukon Territory border around noon and took some photos, videos with the signs, and was absolutely pleased with myself for making it this far. Many motorcycles have gotten pictures in front of this sign, but I doubt very many have gotten a photo in front of this sign when it's covered in snow. Obviously, it is fairly easy for me to get here given the fact I only live 90 miles away, but still, I consider it an accomplishment. I made myself a cup of coffee near the border and then stood around and drank it while enjoying the scenery. You will notice here that my bike is still running. That is because with all the heated gear, I was unsure how much current I was drawing and was a little bit afraid that if I drew down too much power, my bike wouldn't start and that would suck. I'm sure there's an official rating for what my generator will put out and how much power it will support. I don't know what that is, hadn't looked that up. And in the end, my bike was started fine when I got home and shut it off, so I'm pretty sure that it is capable of supporting this with the heated gear for an extended period. I stopped many times for photos and video along the return route home. The sunlight and the views were absolutely amazing. I got to watch one of the many epic Alaska winter sunsets with the coolest shades of baby blue and baby pink. Traveling via motorcycle is the coolest thing I have found for enjoying the moment, traveling along, and just enjoying the outdoors. I have found over the last few winters that I don't really enjoy winter. However, riding along here on two wheels, warm and comfortable, you could almost forget that it was actually winter and just enjoy the scenery and be glad to be out and about. Yep, that's my whole row of controls for my heated gear. I think if you want to take to riding on the road with a motorcycle in winter, you should certainly carefully consider the risks and understand what you're getting into. However, it is possible, and I've found it quite enjoyable at this point. Traffic in my local area is light, and I have certainly kept my speed well under what I would believe to be safe. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for what might come next. I have some more plans for this winter, and will be around later.